Good afternoon, everyone out there in YouTube land. My name is Jared, and this is my channel, Mazda B3K. This is going to be a shorts video, and I'm going to show you how to take care of that real annoying problem where you're going up a hill, cruise is on, and then all of a sudden your AC dumps to the floor, to the defroster, and you don't know why. You want to find out why? I'm going to tell you why. Let's get to it. So put simply, the why is this. It's vacuum. This is a vacuum tank. So very briefly, vacuum is just absence of air in this case. And older cars use it for just about everything, and modern cars still use it for a bunch of different things because it gets created by gasoline engines naturally, just by the fact that they run. Now, why it's important is in this vehicle, and really any 90s through early 2000s Econoline vans, doesn't matter if it's an E-150, 250, 350, 450, whatever, for the heating and air controls, they're controlled with vacuum. So this is what happens. There is a vacuum tank that looks very similar to what I showed you, and it is buried way down in here under the evaporator box and kind of around the heater core box, which you can't really see, but it's in this area. And the only way to get to it is you are supposed to take the evaporator box out, the heater core box out. It's a massive job. It's 17 book hours if I remember right. No fun. But there is a check valve and a vacuum tank. They're buried in there, and what normally happens is your vacuum line rots away or your check valve fails, and without that extra bit of vacuum, when the engine is under heavy throttle, like when you're going up a hill in overdrive or you're just giving it the beans, the engine makes less vacuum when you give it the beans and you're under heavy throttle. So it runs out of vacuum to hold the position you've selected for max AC or whatever, and then it moves back to a position that needs less vacuum. And then when you let off the gas, engine slows down, makes more vacuum, it goes back. So we're gonna fix that. There's two ways you can do it. The way I'm doing that you're seeing here is I'm just installing a new tank, and I'm gonna splice into the HVAC vacuum line, take care of it. The other way is to fix it the right way, the way that is long and painful, and I'm going to show you a shortcut for that I'm not going to do, but I'm going to at least get that information out there, so if folks want to do it, they can. So if you are willing to cut into your fender, this is what you got to do. You need to drop this plastic wheel arch, okay, and then right about where the shock tower is, which is here, well, coil tower, shock's over there, and then about right there, right in here, you can cut a 4 by 6 inch rectangle. And if you peel the steel away, right above you is gonna be that vacuum tank, the check valve, and the vacuum line. If you are willing to cut into your vehicle, it's gonna be right in this area. And you can get easy access. You can change out the tank. It's only held in with one bolt. Most of the time you have a rotten vacuum line or you have a bad check valve, and you can replace it that way. I don't want to do that because I tend to have terrible luck when I start cutting into sheet metal, because then you got to patch it up, you got to seam seal it, you got to paint it and make sure you don't start spreading rust through here. So we're going with plan B, which is splicing into the HVAC vacuum and setting up our own tank. Now, as you can see, this is not standard. I've already done some work in here, and that's partly why I know how all this works, because I was doing some other HVAC work to try to make the air conditioner colder, and I will have a video on that. And I kind of sort of disconnected that check valve. I didn't know it at the time, but now I do. So I ran a brand new primary vacuum line, which is this all black line right here that I've got in my fingers. This is your primary vacuum line up to your air conditioning controls. So we need to tap in right here. We're gonna run in fact, I'll probably just tap in off this right here. And we're gonna put a little piece of line, a check valve, and then we're gonna secure our tank up here, and once we put this metal plate on and the beauty plate, you won't even know it's there, and it'll be out of the range of anyone's feet, so you won't accidentally kick it down. As long as this tank has the ability to fill with vacuum off of the AC control and a check valve that will hold that vacuum, we're going to be good to go. Because alternatively, you could take this tank and you could put it in the engine bay somewhere, but at least with a 5.4 mid-size V8, that engine bay is kind of crowded. So I'm putting it here. Let me lay out the parts we're going to need. You're going to need some vacuum line that's going to fit. These ports are 1/8, or they're 1/4 and 3/16. So you need a vacuum line that will fit on all of those. This is your check valve. The reservoir is going to go off the black side. This lets vacuum come in this direction, but then does not let it come back out, which is kind of nice. And we're going to need some line that's going to fit that. And I'm guessing that's a 3/16. So we're going to need that. We're going to need a check valve. And guys, you don't need to use this particular Dorman tank. This is a Dorman 47995. But you can use an AC Delco tank. You can find vacuum tanks that actually have the check valve built in. Just whatever floats your boat. That's what I decided to grab, and that's what we're doing. So I think first thing I'm going to do is do some size checking. This with the vacuum line I have. Make sure I got something that'll fit snugly on this. Because you can notice you're not really going to get a clamp in here. All right, here's the completed setup. So I took some zip ties. I have zip tied the vacuum tank up here. I have a line running out of it. I tucked it behind some HVAC things so it's not coming out. And it runs down, comes in to here. As you can see, that's a real tight fitting on both sides there. I had that T in there and I took it out because I realized I didn't need it. I could just use this. Now again, that's really tight, but it is on there. It'll fit. It's gonna work. And so we got that in. So in theory, that should work. And then we can put all of our beauty stuff back on, and I can even tuck some of the extra line back into the engine bay so I can get this out of the way of people's feet, so we don't have a problem with that. And that should do it, except for just putting the beauty stuff back on. Now what I will do is crank it, make sure that my basic controls are working as they should. So like I said, we just tapped into the main vacuum line for all of our heat and AC controls. So we did something goofy there. Stuff's not going to work, so let's see if it works. Ignore the sound of the unhappy idler. All right, so we go vent. Okay, coming out the vent. That's what we should be getting. Let's go floor. Yep, coming out the floor. Defrost, I heard the AC kick on. Should be coming out the top. We are. Let's go to normal AC. Should be coming out here. We are. Let's go to max AC. Yep, still coming out here. So that means I don't really have a leak. This is good. I like that a lot. And I'll have to do a test drive to make sure that indeed I have fixed the problem now that we have a vacuum reservoir in line. So as you can see, once you get the beauty plate back on and everything, really you can't see much of anything unless you get down here and look. And if you think about where your feet normally sit, which is kind of right here, you're good. You don't have anything in the way of your passenger. And you know, there's the tank. It's all cleaned up. There you go. After you do this, you shouldn't have to worry about your vents dumping to the floor when you're cruising in the middle of a hot summer's day. One last quick thing. I had this valve oriented wrong. The black cap needs to go towards your vacuum source for this to all work correctly. Because I did my test drive, hit my stop point, didn't work, flipped this valve around, test it again, and now finally we're good to go. No more vents dumping to the floor whenever I gas it.